feel like is one of the biggest issues in most marriages.
When people get stressed out or overwhelmed or anxious, they tend to lash out at their partner first. Their partner, you would think, would be the person that you are the most respectful and loving to, but they also tend to know you better than anyone, and your level of comfort is so deep that you just tend to lash out at that person more without even realizing it. That can cause you to get really mad or irritated about little things that may not be actually those things. It's just whatever sort of outside stressors are.
I would agree with that. I feel like those like practical stressors can lead you to be more irritable. The good news is we feel safe with our spouse. The bad news is sometimes when we feel really safe with someone, we forget that we still do owe that person respect. Also, making sure that we're not using that person as our punching bag.
Yeah.
Sometimes you treat the people you're closest to the worst. And I think that in marriage, it's important to be comfortable, but sometimes you reach a point of comfortability where you're not actually loving that person, you're taking advantage of them. We forget that that person is still a person. They need respect and love and all these things. And when we show up and we give them like the leftovers, basically, it starts to create this cycle of resentment and bitterness, and what was once a beautiful thing to be so connected and so close can kind of become this ugly arena where two people are just throwing up on each other.
Absolutely. And I think what happens in those seasons is people kind of clam up and shut down and start to disregard the things that are really important for them in other aspects that help them to show up best in their marriage. Kind of like what we've done recently with changing our morning schedule. When we're in a busy season of stress and work, we might tend to think that we don't have time to do anything for ourselves or for each other that we need to do to put ourselves in a better physical, spiritual, emotional space. When you neglect those things, that's when the tension builds.
The reality is when we put Georgia to bed, we are spent. That is the most low quality time. Like waking up in the morning for us is a way of giving each other our first best versions of each other. Another thing is we stopped watching TV at night together. I feel like that was a whole era of our marriage. And sure, we might have been connecting because we both loved watching the same show, but we weren't having the conversations we needed to have. Yeah. And I think that's a way that our society has really been robbed of intimacy in marriages and relationships. And honestly, watching TV with your spouse can be a huge way to avoid the problems in your marriage that you need to talk about. You know you do, but this kind of pacifier, it's not helping your marriage.
At the end of the day, they are essentially nothing more than a dopamine hit, a dopamine addiction. And when you're getting that from something else, you're no longer going to get that same sort of zest and dopamine effect from your partner.
That's like when our relationship started getting really good. I feel like we started to realize those distractions and realize those dynamics. And I mean, we're not perfect. We still have our days, but I felt like there was just this relief of spending high quality time together again. The reality is like we only have so much time with each other. I hate thinking about it. And I would bet that when we are on our deathbed, we're not going to look back and say, man, I wish I watched more TV. We're going to say, I wish that I spent more time with my husband. I wish I spent more time with my kids. I wish I didn't spend so much time on my phone. Most people say we wish we would have just slowed down, actually would have been present and paid attention to the people that we love.
Yeah.
There comes a point where you have to make a choice of what kind of marriage you want, and you're going to have to make hard decisions in order to have that marriage.
Absolutely. And that can be a lot of little choices that we make. You know, I'm huge on teamwork and doing things together. You know, one person's doing dishes, one person's playing with Georgia, or vice versa, but regardless, we're together. And I think that really helps stir up and build that family dynamic. And it's just, those are the moments I think are so valuable.
And I would venture to say that a lot of parents who are trying to limit the screen time of their kids, but they're struggling with that, are usually the people that they themselves are also pretty addicted to their phones and screens. It's really hard to teach a child not to be addicted to screens when they're seeing their parent addicted to screens.
Yeah.
We don't teach our children these things by telling them. We teach them these things by modeling them.
Parents are the first line of influence in a child's life. Kids are going to learn so many habits, morals, things from their parents. And screen time is a big one. Our kids don't have to grow up knowing the phones as being such a source of attention, excitement. You know, there's ways around that. Stay off your phone a little bit more in front of the kids. I think it's really important, especially as kids are really young and not in school yet, to be able to see good models from their parents.
I feel like it's just like so much lighter. Like I'm having fun. I feel like I'm having fun in our marriage. I'm having fun as a mom. And a lot of that has to do with us just being more intentional with how we speak to each other, how we show up in our relationship, and what we're putting in front of our eyes. It's just made a huge difference.
Yeah.
And I'm thankful you're willing to do that with me.
Intentionality and discipline.
I love you.
I love you too.